Okay, now, behind me, I've written every single unit on the board or every single topic that's in your biology course on the board. Okay, so what you can do when I step out of the way now in a second is you can pause this video, have a look at it. Every single teacher, every single set of notes is going to break up the actual chapters differently, but in terms of the units, they actually stay the exact same. The content in them is the exact same. Okay, so these units here, we've got Unit 1 and Unit 2. Fantastic, you can see I've put them in red. And then over here we've got Unit 3. Okay, in terms of Unit 3, you can see straight away that that is way longer. There is way more topics. Even some of the topics you're looking at here, human reproduction, plant reproduction, potentially tricky sort of stuff. Okay, you don't have to worry about that for now. You don't have to worry about that. So instantly, we're casting away half of that stuff here. We don't need it. And I don't mean that we're casting away half of our grade. Absolutely not. Okay, what we're actually casting away is, that's actually going to be Course B. This here is Course A. Now, Course A in itself, this stuff, is worth, if you elect to choose these questions, 80% of your grade. You can get 80% from just sitting in these next 5 sessions, from looking at this versus looking at this. So in this school, in the Dublin Academy of Education, as you know, we study smart. We study exactly what comes up. We don't do any more like delving into stuff that can't be examined. But also we focus on the big hitters. So what do I mean by that? I mean, not every single one of these chapters comes up in the same amount of frequency. And not every single one of these chapters is worth the same percentage when it does come up. So I'm going to show you that. I've done all the work for that for you. So you just, again, have to invest in the strategy that we have proven time and time again works in this school. Okay, it's almost like if you've ever been. One time I went to Disneyland and there was this Toy Story game, and I was in this booth beside my girlfriend. We were shooting these guns at these targets. Now I was shooting all these 10-point targets. I was getting loads of them, and I got loads of like 10-point targets. I thought I was doing very well. She was more methodical. She actually took her time and aimed for the 500-point targets, and she only had to hit a couple of them, and she absolutely annihilated my score. At the end, I thought I'd done loads of work, but I actually hadn't. I actually lost. I got destroyed in the game, and I actually never lived that down. And that's sort of the same with this sort of stuff here. I'm going to show you which one of these are the 500-point targets, and you just have to trust me. Okay, you just have to trust me on that. Okay, in terms of Unit 1 and Unit 2, this is what we're going to deal with over the next couple of days. Unit 1 is the most important thing by a good bit. If you let me show you what that exam looks like, this exam can't look any different from... Forgot me old handkerchief. You can't look any different from what I'm going to put on the board here. Every single year, when they're constructing a biology exam, every single year it has to, without fail, look like this. Okay, there are 3 sections. 3 sections. So they're called Section A, B, and C. Okay, so nothing big there. Section A, Section B, Section C. Now, because the majority of you will have done a mock, which is absolutely massively critical for you, okay, because you have done that, you would already know there's Section A, B, and C. What some people call this is the short questions and the long questions. That's simply not the case. That actually is not true. Okay, I'm going to tell you that calling something the long questions is one of our myths of biology. Okay, and you'll see why. Okay, in terms of Section A, well, in Section A, there's going to be 6 questions. And 2 of those questions in Section A have to come from Unit 1. Okay? 2 of those questions have to come from Unit 2. And 2 of those questions have to come from Unit 3. Fantastic. So you can kind of see straight away, we've got 4 out of 6 of these. On your Leaving Cert exam, you only have to answer 5 out of 6. You get a choice. So we've actually got a lot of those in the bag for this course here. We can only miss out on 1 question. And let me let you in on something here as well. The stuff we do here preps us for Unit 3. You could probably answer one of these Unit 3 questions based on this sort of stuff here and give it a really, really good go. Okay, of these questions here, we have to answer 5, each one worth 20 marks, so 20 by 5, that gives us 100 marks, that's 1/4 of our grade. So fantastic. Okay, so the whole exam itself is out of 400 marks. Section B is the experiments. Okay, there are 23 experiments on the course. You have a handout speaking about them, but I'll speak about them in the next session a little bit more. But 23 experiments. These are not, absolutely not, anything like the write-up you would do for your teacher in school. Absolutely nothing like it. Look at all the past paper questions. You just have to generally understand the question. Never, ever does it say, write up this experiment. The fascinating thing about this is because there are 23, it's actually quite predictable about what's going to come up. And not so much because there's 23 experiments. That seems like a lot. But 4 of them are food experiments, literally the junior cert ones. 4 of them are enzyme experiments where they're all interconnected. So you can actually look at the topics that have come up over the last number of years and actually narrow this down even further. Okay, you can narrow it down even further for this part here. Now, of these questions, there are 3. Okay, so there are 3 experiment questions, 7, 8, and 9 on your exam. You only have to answer 2 of them. So you can pick 2 out of those 3 questions. So if your predictions didn't go exactly to plan, well, you've got an option. Now, even better than that is, of these 3 questions, they're usually, almost always, going to be on one experiment, then it's the second question on another experiment, and the third question is actually a mix. Okay, so the examiner does that to try throw you, so you know loads of different experiments. But how it's actually worked out is that mixed experiment question is usually so straightforward because they can only really touch the kind of very, very top surface of that experiment. They can't go into any detail whatsoever. So if you have done any work whatsoever on the experiments, you should be able to do very well on that. Now, each one of these questions here is worth 30 marks each. Okay, you're going to answer 2 of them. Absolutely nobody in any of my classes should be going for less than 52 on those experiments. Okay, and I'll explain to you why in a second. But that's how that part of the exam comes out. Section C, which people call the long questions, definitely not long questions. People think long questions, long answers. No. Okay, and we'll talk about that again as we go through. But Section C, worth 240 marks. So we've got so far 100, we've got 60, and Section C worth 240 marks. Okay, what's the story with that? Well, one of those questions, without doubt, not one word of a lie, it has to, regardless of anything, one of those questions has to come from Unit 1. 2 of those questions have to come from Unit 2, and 3 of those questions from Unit 3. And then you're kind of saying, oh, Unit 3's come up again, that's a little bit annoying. It actually isn't, because if you look at what you have to answer here, in these questions, there are 6 of them. You have to answer 4 out of those 6 questions. So you have a choice. Yeah, you have a choice of those questions. So you can see pretty much straight away how this course, going through what we're going to go through now, which is these topics here, not that big a deal. I'm going to interconnect them for you. This is going to be worth 80% of your grade. And the actual skills you're going to learn in this, the questions that are going to actually you're going to apply to other chapters and to your study, is going to make it worth far more than that. Far more. In fact, the tactics I'm going to show you are basically the Dublin Academy of Education's success tactics for the last decade, and they can apply to absolutely every subject. In my opinion, every subject is the same. You have to just ask yourself a number of questions and prepare yourself in a certain manner, and it's very, very easy. Again, you're going to run this program once, twice, maybe even 3 times. So you should be able to get this. You should be able to actually do this exam by the end of this in your sleep.